everybody, and welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast Thursday edition. So you all know what that means. Day one of our high school football extravaganza here on your sports network. As always, I'm Alec Cabrera. That's Mike Wolfgang. Your normal Thursday crew. Matt Morrison will not be on the show tomorrow, so we might be having some special guests potentially. We'll see how that pans out. But tomorrow we will be going at it live as well, though. So fan interaction encouraged here for both days. Normally not a lot of spots to hop in, but tomorrow, throw it in the comments. Come on, we want to hear your thoughts about the games going on this weekend. And today we're going over 16 of them. Tomorrow we're going over another 16. So it's going to be a fun ride for us here, Mike. We got some pretty good games going on this weekend. I'm excited to get into it. So let's go ahead and let's get it done.
Dude, there's good games every weekend. What are we talking about?
Yeah, it really has been a great season for football. I swear every week. I mean, we have 5-6 games that all could be game of the week.
Yeah, I think we last week we were covering some games. We were like, this game should be game of the week. This game should be game of the week. It's just at this time of year, you're getting down towards that part of the year and big conference games. Every game is viable for that spot. And
a lot of these ones here in what are we now? Week 7. Conference decision makers. We got a couple, so that could really impact conference play. And 4 weeks left in the season, positioning is a real big spot as well to throw it in. So without any further ado, you can see games that we were talking about today rolling along the bottom of your screen. I got that resorted out this week. So let's start with that first one you just saw tick by. St. Vincent, St. Mary's, home of LeBron James, going on the road to take on our local Irish squad in Ursuline. So it's a battle of the Irish here, Mike. St. V coming into this 4-1. They're playing really good. They're only lost 25-0 to Glenville that started the season. Glenville, they're 6-0, and if you haven't heard of them, go look them up. They're a real good program up there in Cleveland. So St. V comes into this. I mean, they've had some really good games. They beat some competitive teams in Barberton, Buchtel, Sandusky. They beat Warren G. Harding last week. But I think when you really look at this and you look at Ursuline's record at 5-1 and you see the level of competition they've gone up against, whether it was Brookfield, who's you looked at now, a playoff contender in Division 6. They're ranked inside of the top 5 for D6. And this Ursuline squad, a D4 school, wiped the floor with them to start out the season, and that's not an understatement. And, even as the guy that covers a lot of Brookfield, myself and Matt Morrison, I think we can both say that was an absolute dominating performance by Ursuline that week 1, no matter how you turned it, especially with how Brookfield has come out to play this season. I mean, the win over Farrell was huge. A 1-score game against Fitch. They played good against Harding, and they beat Cheney a week ago on Saturday. Short week might be the only problem coming into this because St. V's got that extra day to rest and rehab. Ursuline kind of had to jump right back into the fire. They didn't get that normal, Saturday, Sunday to reload. They had to get right back into the right back into the flow of things. So that's kind of the one thing I don't like for Ursuline in this game. But overall, I think they have to be the favorites coming into this one. St. V's a really good school, but we've just seen absolute domination from Ursuline.
And Alec, you just talked about playing on Saturday and short rest coming back to play on Friday. That's only 6 days, but practice days, however their schedule works. Last time that happened for Ursuline, Saturday they played Farrell in week 3, and then they come out in week 4 and they lose to Austintown Fitch. I mean, they got blown out, but they did come back and make it close at the end. So yeah, on your side of things, that is pretty worrisome. Kind of looking at the last time that happened for Ursuline, but I agree with you. They should be the favorites in this one. But the one thing that you kind of get a theme of with Ursuline is that some of the games, at least the last handful of games they played, they start out slow. So the Fitch game, they start out slow. They kind of came back, didn't win it. Harding, I think they opened up. They were trailing that one. They came back and won that. This past week against Cheney was close. So I kind of look for them. I know it's going to be a little bit – they're at home, so that's another good benefit for them playing at YSU. So kind of look for them to come home, set the tone early. But like you said, it's going to be a little difficult because St. V's is a good team too.
St. Vincent St. Mary currently ranked 6th in Division II Region 5 behind Nordonia, Fitch, Hudson, Riverside, and Hoban. So clearly some elite status they surround themselves with, and a win here for a team like St. V would go a long way into boosting that record up. I mean, probably puts them into 5th place behind Fitch, depending on what Nordonia's schedule looks like. Look like they have a lot of computer points going at it at the moment. And you look on the side of Ursuline, where they sit currently in the rankings. They are 5th for Division 3, Region 9 behind Cheney, CVCA, Chardon, and Canfield. So, again, really great competition up at the top. This is a game I'm really split on because obviously Ursuline, short rest, and you have to go up against a team a division higher than you. And that's always hard to do, especially, when that team in the division ahead of you is just as good or may not better than you. It opens up an awkward situation. Strength of schedule has definitely been there for Ursuline, but you wonder at this point in the season, can they continue just absolute pounding game after pounding game? Normally you see, hey, this will work out come playoff time, but when you've had this many close battles, you almost wonder, is this going to hit them fatigue-wise here sooner or later?
Yeah, and they got a couple hard games too to close out. So it's a tough challenge for Ursuline all year. So, and they found a way to get through at this point. Like you said, the reason in my mind, they probably, if there was a line, they'd be a favorite because they are at home, and it's a tough matchup too. But that's pretty much it's a pretty evenly matched game, and I think it goes back to what we just opened up with. It's gonna be a game that's one of the better ones this weekend.
And Mike, you're talking about what a line would probably look like. I would go with a spread in this game, probably 2.5 points in favor of Ursuline.
It's got to be
because they're at home, but St. V's are playing a division higher, so you can't really push that any really farther than a field goal between these two. I mean, it's going to be about as close as it can be. I'm not sold, though, on who I think can win this game because coming into it, I was kind of pretty heavy on Ursuline, but St. V, they've been playing really good, and they have solid defense, and it hasn't been exposed since week 1. And you look at the last 4 weeks, well, it's not the best offenses they're going against in Sandusky and Bookdale. Sandusky's a 2-4 squad. They only got 2 touchdowns. Bookdale, who got 13 points, 2-4 squad. Barberton, who they took on in week 2, 3-3. Barberton didn't score a point. You're looking at some really solid defense from St. Vincent St. Mary, and due to the level of competition on Ursuline's schedule, they've had good defense, sure, but it's not translating into the stat category. So when you look at this pure stats, I think St. V comes in probably as the favorite, but eye test from what we've seen out of this Ursuline squad, especially when they get to play at home this season, you really have to look at them as the favorite. I'm going to go Ursuline on this one. Not sold on 100%. It'd be a really big upset for Ursuline if they can do this to take down a team basically in the same spot as them, but a division ahead.
I'm going to go Ursuline as well, but I think the key, normally, like I said, you'd be saying this for a road team. Like in this case, St. V's going into it, onto a road game. That's, you got to jump out to early lead. You got to get some confidence. You got to get that cushion because the home team's going to make a run. I'm kind of saying that for Ursuline because, like I said, some of these games, home and away, the last few weeks, they've started out kind of sluggish, and found ways to win most of them. But still, that's what I'm looking for Ursuline is come out and kind of for them to set the tone to be the home team. So I'm going with Ursuline as well.
And you don't always get this when you have 2 teams that are from different regions of the state, but both teams have a recent matchup against Warren G. Harding. That might be kind of the one baseline you look at for this team. St. V, they beat Warren G. Harding 27-12. Ursuline beat Harding 28-14. So about as close as can be. There's really no separation there to even look at as well. But I'm taking the home squad when you have this type of matchup where you feel both teams are going to be close in it. I do think you have to give the edge to the home squad, and that's what we're both doing here, it seems. And one thing we've started to really see from this Ursuline fan base after last year and going into this one, especially last week against Cheney when it was on the Saturday, they can fill up the stands. I don't think there was an empty seat at Rayan Field last week. I'm expecting probably one of the biggest crowds of the season for both college and high school at Ursuline this weekend.
Yeah, and I was at that
stand ball.
I was at that Fitch game a few weeks ago. I was at YSU. That's a pretty good crowd for a high school game. And both those fan bases are big too. So you're going to get another one.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it here. I mean, Battle of the Irish, they travel. Yeah. But I'm taking Ursuline, the better of the 2 Irish, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, next game, not going to be as close as our prior Austintown Fitch. They do go on the road, so that will be a struggle for them. They go up against the Mustangs of Strongsville. And Strongsville, they actually have a pretty nice stadium out there. I called that baseball playoff game a couple years ago for Warren JFK. Both regionals were at this high school. Pretty nice facilities over there, but they've lost their last 3 games. They have a decent offense, but their defense has been practically non-existent. And if you're going up against Fitch and you have no defense, you're not going to be in for a good time. Fitch so far in 6 games, averaging 40 points per game. And they've done this against some of the biggest teams in their region. Glen Oak, Canton McKinley, Ursuline. They still almost put up 30 points against Massillon, Washington a week ago. My one thing for Fitch, avoid the letdown, right? You went into a tough environment, Paul Brown Stadium last week. Now you're going out, long bus ride again for this matchup in Strongsville. It'll be about hour and 20, hour 15 minutes, I think is what it was, at least in my car. On a bus, I'm sure it's going to be longer. It's going to be a cold night as well. We're looking at temperatures, around 40 degrees at the low for the night. So I think kickoff's going to be about mid-50s. So it's going to be cold. Fitch needs to avoid the letdown. There's a lot of environmental issues around them coming off the loss. Cold environment, long bus ride. If Strongsville gets out to something early on, I worry about what the mentality of Fitch is going to be this week. I'm sure they're right back in the proper mindset to going, hey, we're going in. Yeah, we lost a tough game. Sure, whatever. Go in, win this week, put it behind us. But you do have to wonder, these are young kids. Sometimes you see these, losses kind of hang over and have an effect on how you play in the next game. I still think Fitch is going to win this game, but, I do wonder what Strongsville's offense is going to be able to put up against them because they don't have a bad offense. They put up 35 points against Medina and 28 against Cleveland Heights in the last 2 weeks, but their defense has allowed 50-plus as well. So Strongsville's going to get theirs. Unfortunately, their defense isn't going to get a stop. Fitch is going to probably put up 56 points. And Strongsville, I would say give him around 20 in this game. But I think that first half looks close for a long time. I think a lot of Fitch fans are going to be worried until we hit that halftime and Fitch comes out big in the third quarter.
I would say, a lot of teams you try to put whatever happens the previous week in the rear view. You're in the past, like right when the game ends. But I think the worst case scenario for Strongsville is that, it's unfortunate this game came right after the Massillon game for Fitch because I honestly think that's probably the only game I think Fitch is going to lose in its regular season schedule for them. And they're going to come out, I think, in this one kind of, fired up and try to, and, all guns blazing. So I'm going Fitch in this one pretty big as well.
Yeah, but like I said, I think that offense for Strongsville is going to go blow for blow for a little bit against Fitch until they kind of get back into their mindset and go, wait a minute, this team ain't as good as this. Let's put a stop to this. Come on. Get out of here. No. I think they shut them down. Once they get into halftime and they get one of those big halftime speeches, you're just like, what are you doing? Come on. Let's go out there. Let's kick their butts, and let's get a running clock going here. So I think it's going to be a real big third quarter for Fitch.
Flip a switch type of thing, maybe? I know a lot of teams like to say that's not a real thing, but I think it is.
No, I definitely think it's a thing. If you ever heard Andy Hake in the locker room at halftime, it's a thing. That guy definitely flips a switch. I've seen his teams go from the most average-looking squads to looking like they could win a Super Bowl after Andy Hake's halftime talk. Sometimes even his timeouts, he can get that squad going just fine. So I definitely think that there is a flip in the switch type dynamic if you have the coach that can do it. And obviously, from what we've seen from Fitch this season, they haven't had to really turn a switch, but they definitely have the coaching that can do it.
There's no doubt that they can if they need to.
Right. This next game, though, real big for conference play. Beaver local, 4-2, 2-0 in conference play. Harrison Central, 4-2, 1-1 in conference play. This was a game we've been kind of hunting at for a while because both these teams were kind of in the mix for the Ohio Valley Conference. Cambridge now in Beaver, St. Clairsville, now the top 3 teams. But Harrison Central, if they get a win here today, definitely puts them back into some contention to potentially come in and still get things rolling back their direction. They did lose to the Clairsville game, but with games against Edison, Indian Creek, and this game here, 3 conference games, they just have to hope for a Clairsville upset or 2 in there to potentially give them a shot at this title. But obviously, playoffs is kind of everyone's biggest goal here at the moment. If you're out of the conference race, both these teams kind of in similar positions with 2 losses on the year. You're kind of waiting for things to fall your way. And East Liverpool's Beaver currently sits 5th place here in Division 4, Region 13. Let me pull up Harrison Central. Not going to work, is it? Here we are. Harrison Central finally wanted to load up for me. Division 5, Region 17, they rank 12. So there is a slight edge here for Beaver. I like them coming into it. I think this is going to be a very competitive game. But the thing that really sells it for me is what we saw a week ago from Beaver Local, 62-0 over Oak Glen out of West Virginia. And while that's not a good team, they did pull the upset a week prior to going into Lisbon against Toronto, who had gone into that week undefeated. They were 3-0, I think, at that point. No, 4-0. And they got handed a loss from this Oak Glen squad. You wondered if they were going to be turning things around as they played some of these Ohio teams. They did not. Beaver Local went in, knocked them out. I mean, 62-0 is a statement win, and they were setting the tone for the final half of this season. Well, they might not win conference because they don't have a game against that top team in Cambridge. They control their own destiny when it comes to playoff time, and I think they're in a really good spot to do so.
And, for the case of Harrison Central, I like to look at things about, what you've done the last week or so. Losing that pretty big margin, 43-0 last week. So how are you going to come out and respond from that? That's something I kind of look at. 43-0 is a big shutout. So, I mean, you got this one at home, too. Maybe try to rebound here against a team that's pretty evenly matched, at least record-wise. You're dead even with 4-2. So that's something I kind of look at, too. How are you going to rebound?
Right. And one of the big things for me when you come into it, recency. Yeah. Harrison Central got shut out a week ago. I know it was against St. Clairsville, and that Clairsville team is obviously very good. They're currently ranked in Region 15, Division 4 at number 6. So they're a good team on their own. But a 42-0 shutout, 43-0, shutout a week ago. You wonder, is this going to carry over into a second game now? The offense can't do anything. Your defense gets obliterated. Now you're going against a Beaver squad that you just saw put up 62 last week and shut out their opponent. If Harrison Central might be looking a little bit of deja vu coming into it, I got Beaver.
I think I'm going to flip and go Harrison Central because I know they got shut out last week against a good team, but they've shown out of all their other games besides another loss too that they did score in, but they can score points too. So I got to go them. Embarrassing loss last week. Come home and try to put up some points here, and I got them in this game.
Mike, why don't you ask your dogs what they're thinking? They're being quite loud today.
If you want me to go take step out, I'll go make them be quiet. But
no, you're good.
He's still a puppy. He doesn't know what's going on. There's nobody even outside, so I don't know what he sees.
Well, he's quite opinionated. Maybe you just grab him on the broadcast next time.
Yeah. I mean,
next
he's in a
Thursday,
sports
we'll see what he does.
So yeah.
Well, there you go. He should at least know something. You got to start making some, make him make pics on like TikTok or your Twitter or something.
Yeah. Get him an account going.
Yeah, there you go. Our next game, Mike, I'm going to be on this call tomorrow night. Brookfield going on the road to Newton Falls. Brookfield, absolutely demolition crew right now. They destroyed every opponent that's been put in front of them. And at the moment, Brookfield, you got to watch out week 9. That's the only game on the schedule that really looks like it's going to be anything for this squad. And that's not a discount on Newton Falls because I think they have a lot of talent on this team. I mean, I saw them a couple of weeks ago against Champion. It was a very odd game, that's for sure. But, between Pennington and Howard, they have some guys that can move the ball. Unfortunately, they don't really have a passing game that can finish. That's really the one knock against them. I think if they had better passing play, I think this Newton Falls team would be in a really great spot because their running game is so sound with Gino Lazzari. Pennington can run, Rapchick and Brainerd, all really great players. And you look right now for Cameron Brainerd in Division 6, he's ranked 8th for rushing yards, 527 for him. So he's done a really great job this season. They have a good defense. They have players in Nick Wright who ranks 2nd right now in interceptions in the conference. And like I said, they have really great talent all around, and it's not like they have bad defense. They've only allowed 118 points in 6 games, and you break that down, under 20 points a game. Yeah, I mean, it's on the higher side. It's at 19.6, but you're going to take that when you have an offense that could score, but they haven't had the offense that scores, and that's what worries me coming into a game against Brookfield, who has such solid line play, really great linebackers, and their defensive backs love to make contact as well. This is a Brookfield team that does not shy away from contact on the defensive side, nor do they on the offense. They have speedsters all around that you're not going to be able to run away from. And after Donovan Pulowski's performance a week ago, that got him nominated for Big Dog of the Valley, which you can vote for on ysnlive.com. Big Dogs of the Valley for both football and volleyball out. Make sure you go vote for your favorite players from the past week and the most deserving players as well. But, after what he did a week ago, put up some really great numbers. You really kind of have to watch out for this offense to go loco again. And I got the Warriors taking win number 6. I don't know if they're going to lose again. Garfield, Brookfield, week 9. Ooh, that's going to be probably the matchup of the week up in Garfield.
Yeah, for sure for that week. But I'm going to kind of make it short. I'm obviously going to go Brookfield too as well because I just don't think Newton Falls has the athletes on the offense side. Well, team overall, but especially on the offense because that's really where Brookfield's been, that's been their strong suit so far in all these games they've won. They put up a lot of points. You guys know they have really good athletes on the offensive side of the ball, receiving core, backfield. So I got to go Brookfield as well. They're hard to handle in that department.
They really are. And from, I haven't gotten to see them a ton this season. They've been sending me elsewhere. I'm very grateful for all the different teams I've gotten to cover this year. But, seeing what that Brookfield team can do the couple of times I've been with them, they're special. They got some real talents this season, and they're showcasing them. They're about to lose a lot, going to have a big fall off. It's a school that really hasn't won in football in 50 years.
Yeah.
They're really hoping this team is the one that turns it around. And I talked about their rankings a little bit earlier. They are number 10 right now in Division 6, Region 21. They're behind Ravenna, Mineral Ridge, Dalton Central Catholic, Rootstown, Valley Christian, Cuyahoga Heights, Mogadore, and Kirtland. Not in the best place right now, but that's only due to their strength of schedule. Their 5-1 record is carrying a lot of weight to them. If they can get a couple of wins here, continue to blow teams out and take out Garfield in that final week, they're going to be in a really great spot to get a decent playoff spot. I think they're pretty much already in. I mean, I'm looking behind them. They're the lowest rated 5-1 team in the region. So, a couple more wins here to add on to it. They're going to be just fine when it comes to playoff time. And I really think this year, the year they make it past the first 2 rounds, because we haven't seen that from them the last year. They played really great, but then it does not translate to the playoffs. I think this is a much more mature squad. They have a much better chance this season.
And that Garfield game being a week 9, towards the end of the season to close it out, I think that's a good spot for the game to try to get, in playoff mode before the playoffs. So I think that's a key part in the rest of their schedule.
Most definitely. I mean, that definitely sets the table for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But our next game here, Cardinal Mooney playing a home game over in the Ridge, is about as home as that can be, going 25, 30 minutes away for your home games. Someone got to get them a stadium closer to home. This is ridiculous. One of our premier programs in the Valley doesn't even have a stadium anywhere nearby they can use. That needs to be rectified at some point. That's ridiculous. They're going all the way up the Ridge to play these kind of games. But regardless of that, their defense has been holding shutouts the last 2 weeks against Lutheran East and Youngstown East. Now they play host to Brush the Arcs out of Lyndhurst, Ohio, who come in 2-4. They also posted a shutout in their last 2 games to beat Akron North 36-0, but they lost to Willoughby South last week 41-26. Willoughby South, the 4-2 squad, so just a little bit better than what Mooney's record is. But one of the things we've talked about with Cardinal Mooney this season is their record at 3-3. It's a pretty good 3-3 when you look at what they've done. I mean, a 1-possession loss to Boardman, 1-possession loss to Cheney, a 2-possession loss to a private school with 24-year-olds playing football. I think you would take that for Cardinal Mooney this season. They've won the games they've won. They won the games they were supposed to, and they lost the games they were kind of supposed to as well. They played really good in them, and they had a chance to pull the upset. They just didn't get it done. This is a game you come in, you look at. Mooney's supposed to win this. Probably supposed to win next week against Warren G. Harding. Then they're probably not supposed to win Steubenville and Ursuline to finish the season. 5-5 records, my most likely prediction for Cardinal Mooney, which means I'm taking them here tonight against Brush.
Just got to point that out as we were talking about the locations where they play at. That's just a hard challenge for these guys to try to play in different places all the time. That's really and getting through it right now, like you said, at 500. likelihood, if you look at their schedule, probably around 5-5-ish. But I think I'm going to pick them in this game too because I don't really know too much about Brush, but look at their schedule too. Those are some teams that I you have heard of in the past that are pretty good teams, and they just haven't fared well against any of them. I think they're going up another good one tonight. I think, like you said, 3-3. I think Mooney's a little bit better than that, but maybe they slipped up in some. But I got to go Mooney as well.
Mike, to your point, Brush is a good school. Right now, Division II school, Region 5. They're ranked 18th, but that's one of the lower teams in their region. But still, you're looking at Division II school, and that's definitely going to play a factor in tonight when Mooney, Division 5, Region 17, they're ranked 14th. They have a playoff spot at the moment. Don't know what a 5-5 record will do for them. Well, I mean, you really have to kind of hope teams behind you have some struggles in Champion, Lakeview, Chagrin, Waynedale, Crestwood, Orville, Sandy Valley, Liberty, Fairview, Beechwood, and Wickliffe all have a chance if Cardinal Mooney goes 5-5. So it's still a very big playoff field. There's a lot of clinching opportunities to go on. I think South Range already got theirs. Perry's got theirs. Garway, Norway, and Edison. All the top teams have it, but you have these middle range teams starting with Harrison Central, Berkshire, and Mooney, all with kind of playoff hopes on the line still. So these final games, despite a 500 record, they still very much matter for a team like Mooney.
Oh, yeah.
So next game, another one. I don't think it's going to take us very long to go over this. Campbell Memorial taking on Garfield. And the G-Men, 5-1. Their only loss, 1 point to Warren JFK. Garfield's in a really great spot. I think they are going to steamroll. From what I saw out of Campbell a week ago, they make not so good teams look like really good teams. That's why Liberty won 42-21 a week ago when Liberty hadn't won a football game on the season coming into that one. So a big turnaround, and like I just said, they make not so good teams look good. They're going to make really good teams look even better.
I just don't see anything for Campbell in this game at all. I mean, Garfield, we just talked about how strong they are with who was just playing them in week 9? Was it Brookfield? We were talking about
Brookfield, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're circling that as one. It's even, maybe even Brookfield may even have a little bit of a hard time dealing with them too. So there's just nothing in Campbell this year. Like you said, Liberty, they made them look really good last year. Liberty's not that good. There just has not been anything from this Campbell team all year. They're just in a down year. They've been a down period for a while. So, and Garfield's clearly just obviously better than them.
Garfield's better than a lot of teams. That's the big storyline right now. Division 5, Region 17, they're ranked 7th. They're in a great spot in that top 8 right now with teams like, South Range and Edison, a couple of our YSN teams, and they've got as good a shot as any to really make a run here. And
this part of it too.
Right. And let me look at where Campbell is. Division 6, Region 21. They're ranked 25th. If they can pull the upset, set up this situation, pull an upset here, pull the upset against Champion, then beat Newton Falls and LaBraine, the final 2, they do have a shot for the playoffs if a 5-5 record can get them in. Right now, the 500 team is Brooklyn. They're ranked 13th. So 13-16 still wide open. Everyone else above, they're looking pretty solid. They all pretty much need one more win to close things out up there. So if Campbell can start pulling some upsets and turn this thing around, they have great line play. Really great. They have a great offensive line, but it hasn't been able to translate to any type of success for them this season.
And, this part of it too, before we move on from it, you're talking about a Campbell team that, I know Lovell's having a great year. All these teams they're like Brookfield's another good team. But these are teams when we were younger, Alec, and like I said, because my dad went to Campbell, back when my dad was in, these are all teams Campbell would have destroyed. So this is just how far they've fallen off over the years. And you're gonna ask them to go on, or for me making this pick, for them to have to go to Garfield too to try to pull off this upset, that makes it even harder. So for them to struggle with these teams they have the last couple weeks and to ask them to go on the road to beat Garfield, it's just a tall task.
Tall task for anybody. But our next game here, the Cardinal Huskies going on the road to take on Grand Valley. Cardinal comes in 2-4 out of Middlefield. Grand Valley 1-5. Grand Valley got shut out against Harvey last week. Cardinal, they shut out Beechwood last week, 64-0. Quite an impressive win for them in that game, and it was just their second win of the year. They beat PV in week 2, 47-6. So this offense, when they can get going, they get going. And, their defense has had 2 good games on the season, and they won both of them. So clearly there's a recipe for success with this Huskies program, they just have to find a way to get that offense going. And I think it really translates to both sides of the football when one can get going and the other kind of feeds off of it.
Yeah, I think you're looking at like on the other side too with Grand Valley that they, there's been games this year where they've scored some points too, but it hasn't resulted in a win because they just give up a lot. So I think from what you said, I think both teams are kind of in the same category. I think that's going to be, tonight, both teams kind of trying to find themselves on both sides. Or, I mean, not tonight, but when this game takes place.
Friday night, tomorrow night.
Yeah, Friday night, yeah. I keep thinking it's Friday for some reason. But I think, it's going to be somewhat of an entertaining matchup for that factor because both teams are trying to find themselves on both, in both departments. So I think that's going to make for a good game.
And this actually decent playoff implications. Middlefield Cardinal holds the 16 seed right now for Region 21. That means a matchup against Kirtland. So obviously you want to find some ways to win to get out of that. It's not going to get easy, whoever you go up against, but I don't think anybody wants to go up against Kirtland in round one. Plus, that's the final playoff spot. So if you can get some wins here, if you're Cardinal with the strength of schedule they have, it's given them a little bit of a benefit over the teams below them that don't have as great a strength of schedule. Grand Valley, same region, same division, ranked 23rd. So they're a couple spots behind. A win here would definitely elevate them, but I'm going to take Middlefield Cardinal in this game, needing that playoff spot, trying to create some momentum for this last kind of half of the season. I'm going to take Cardinal to do it.
I guess it's because of the game I just said that our teams are kind of in the same, trying to find themselves. So I guess I'll just go against you and pick Grand Valley because I guess, I like to decide where it doesn't always matter, but when, they have the home game here. So both teams are kind of trying to search. I think they're at home. They'll feel a little bit more comfortable. I'll go Grand Valley.
Crestview 1-4 coming off that loss to Brookfield a week ago, but a 63-0 win over Campbell the week before that. They've had two completely different sides of the football in those last two games. You're going up against the LeBray squad that has had maybe the biggest fall off of any team from season to season. 0-6 this year after a year last year. They went 11-2, and one of their two losses was in the postseason to Mogador. So that was the third round of the playoffs last year, and now likelihood is they will not see the playoffs this year. LeBray, at the moment, the 27th ranked team out of 28 teams. They're tied for 27th with Columbiana in Region 21. Crestview, they are only ranked 24th, so it's not like there's a huge separation here, but neither one of these teams are likely to see the playoffs. You can make the cut here right now. 13 and under, kind of 13 through 16 open, but I don't know if either one of these teams are going to be able to make that push. Crestview's got Garfield Champion and Newton Falls left. LeBray has Brookfield, Liberty, and Campbell. They might be able to find some wins in there. I think if they're going to turn this thing around and give themselves any opportunity whatsoever, this is must-win football. But that goes for both of these teams. And Crestview has the better shot. We've at least seen their offense this season. LeBray has seen the plus side of 2 touchdowns 0 times this season. They've been shut out 3 times as well. We've at least seen Crestview put a couple competitive games in there. In their defense, it is pretty good. They got wiped by Brookfield, sure, 53-6. But look at the beginning of the year, 17-7 to Salem, 12-7 to Southern, a team that we have seen absolutely explode offensively since then. And then they were in a 3-point game against United. This is a team, they're kind of starting to get in the right direction. I got the Rebels.
Yeah, I got the Rebels too, but I just don't have whole reasoning because both these teams are having down years. They're not normally in these positions. It's not where they want to be. Looking at their schedules too, like you pointed out with both, they both have one hard game really left after this one. Some other two are kind of winnable for each team, but so there's some hope to try to get some momentum to end the season. But I think in this one at least, I think Crestview is going to get a little bit more of that. So I got to go with them too.
Next matchup, East Liverpool going up against Edison. This is going to be about as one-sided as it gets. Edison, these Wildcats, baby, they have been on fire this season. They're looking really, really good, and they're ranked 5th in Division 5, Region 17, one of just 3 undefeateds in that region. The other 2, Garway, South Range, and you know the level that those 2 teams are getting talked about in. this Edison team, they might not have the strength of schedule to really kind of bolster their resume, but I think they're still coming into this playoffs with vengeance, man. They want to sink their teeth into somebody good. Don't know how soon they're going to get that opportunity. This is going to be Edison all the way. The Potters, not a bad team. I mean, I don't think that they are a squad that we really look at and go, oh man, I wouldn't take them any day of the week. There are some weeks I think we've definitely gone the Potters' way, but we've seen a slip off since the Minerva, really since the Indian Creek game. 26-14 they lost, but since then their offense has disappeared. 13 points in the last 4 weeks, and they've given up, I think almost 200. So it's definitely a bad spot to be in. East Liverpool season has gone from fine to just absolutely close your eyes and try and forget about it and go on to next season. But they don't have a time machine. They got to eat this thing out and continue to fight until the season's over. But I don't think they got much fight left in the tank out of what we've seen in playoff positioning wise. They're 21st. I don't see them making a comeback here in Division 4 Region 13, however.
I mean, this is just the part we talked about the two teams before this in their matchup too. This is the part when you're in it, this part of the season and you're not really in it. You're struggling. You got a couple games left. You just got to find a way to get through it. And I just don't think this is going to be a game for them for in East Liverpool's case that they're going to come out on top. So I got to go Edison in this one.
Sounds good, Mike. Your squad, Girard, coming up next. They go on the road, taking on Poland, who beat Niles a week ago. Lost to South Range before that. Mike, I was perfect on my prediction with them beating Niles last week, even coming off the 48-0 loss to South Range. You look at them this season, and the pattern continues. Loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. What does that line up for this week? A loss. So I'm going math here, man. I'm taking Girard to take this, and there's plenty of reasons to take them too. The number one team in Region 13 Division 4 is Girard, and they are as good as advertised. We definitely lost a little bit of faith with Girard with their performance a week ago against South Range, but I ain't going to count them out. Poland, their 3-3 records carrying a lot of weight because of a lot of the teams they've had to go up against and where they sit playoff-wise. They're still in the playoffs. This could very well be a playoff rematch. Poland's ranked 10th. If they slide down a little bit, a couple more losses on the season, they shuffle in around 16, you could see these two teams come back in. So I think it's very important for Girard really to come out, set the edge, and go full force at this. Can't wait till the second quarter to get going. Got to open this one up 20-0. You got to find a way to get going early on. Poland, it's looking like it's going to be a down week. They've only won on the road one time this season. I don't think they're going to get a second one this week.
Yeah, I think you're going to get Girard team. I think it's going to come out on the road. A lot of the games have been on the road so far. Yeah. But after that beatdown last week against South Range, I think they're going to come out better prepared. I think Coach Pearson will have better prepared, especially on defense after giving up 56 points. But I think, depth factor of it too. I think Girard's a really good team, but I think the depth factor of it is if they play a team that's deeper than them in the playoffs, they're going to struggle because they'll happen in South Range. I mean, like I said the other day when we were talking about this game, they put in their reserves, their second and third teams, and they were still getting it done against Girard's first and second team. So that's the one concerning thing with Girard is their depth factor. But they got some key games after this one too with Hubbard and Struthers, and then now as close out. Those Hubbard and Struther games are probably going to be the two key ones remaining. But at least in this one, I got to go Girard too as well. I think they're a better team.
Green going on the road into Louisville to take on the Leopards. And Mike, you and I talked about this team on Tuesday. Brutal schedule. Yeah. And they stood no chance of coming out of this season with a winning record. Steubenville, Poland, Northwest Canal, Fulton, Hoover, Lake, and Perry, all teams that pretty much sit inside of the top 10 of their playoffs. And now they have Green that comes in, a 3-3 squad. And let me just pull this up. I know we pulled it up the other day. If I can find which one it is. There's about 1,000 Greens in the state of Ohio, it seems. Still clicking through. Here we go. Number 8 team in Division 2, Region 7 is Green. Mike, this is easy for me. Louisville, they gave themselves the worst possible schedule any team could do. They haven't won at home this season. It ain't going to be this week. I'm taking Green, the Bulldogs, to take it against the Leopards.
Yeah, I kind of want to see maybe a breakthrough, but I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think, we'll go on the side of Green. I think they're a better team. And
Louisville, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Louisville, just for perspective here, Division III, Region 9, ranked 22nd. So their strength of schedule is still carrying a bit of weight, but likelihood is they're not going to take a jump and make it into that top 16 because it's actually one of the more competitive regions that we have going on. You look at it, pretty much 15 on up has been solidified in playoff spots, so long as none of those teams really kind of slip at all throughout the last half of the season. This region already kind of looks like it has its top teams in place, and Louisville just, unfortunately, with their schedule this season, there's just no room for them to turn around.
Yeah, I think when I know it's hard, that schedule they made, it's really, really tough. But I think when you put it together and you get to this point when you're still losing, even though it's against teams you think you're going to lose to, you're losing a lot. So I think that's just a mindset. It messes with your mindset when you're going through a tough schedule like that. It's a grind.
Yeah, it is, and not many teams would be able to do it. You look at that kind of schedule. There are very few teams, I think, even here on YSN or throughout the state, that would be able to go through a grind like that and come out with a record that would give them a high seed. There might be a couple teams that could give you, 8-2, 7-3, but I don't think there'd be a single team that could run through that undefeated.
Yeah.
It's just too much competition week to week. It's nearly impossible. But our next game, Jefferson, 5-1 on the road in Struthers. And Struthers is a team that can pull some upsets. They beat Lakeview a week ago. That was kind of a big one for them. Lakeview came in 3-2, weren't so far off from potentially looking to make a run. Struthers shut them down 41-3. I think you got to throw Jefferson on upset alert this week.
I think so too. And I don't know if I'm going to pick that yet, but I think this is a game I was just talking about when, Gerard coming down the stretch. They got to play a Struthers team. I think it's at Struthers too. So they're always a sneaky team. I think they're under that category again this year. But actually, I'm going to give my pick away. I think I'm going to keep the safe pick and go. I don't even know if it's safe, but I'll just pick Jefferson.
Jefferson, number 2 in Division 4, Region 13, just behind Girard over West Branch. Struthers ranked 19th in the same region,
yep.
But that ranking for me for Struthers, it doesn't paint the story of this season for him. I mean, the fact that they held Girard to a 21-6 game, that scares me if I'm Jefferson Jefferson was that 21-6 game. That scares me if I'm this Jefferson team. We struggled against Girard, the best team on our schedule, and they held it close against the South Range team that kicked the crap out of Girard last week. I don't know what Jefferson's going to have in this game against a defense of this level. That, the only unfortunate part, if Struthers had an offense this season like Jefferson, they might be undefeated. And that's terrifying to think of. This Struthers team with a great offense, what they could potentially do this season. They have a fine offense. Obviously, we saw it get it done last week. They put up, 40 plus twice now on this, or 3 times now on the season, and half their games. That's 40 plus points. That's a good season for most teams. Unfortunately, they've just had a very hard schedule, much like we were just talking about a moment ago with Louisville. Jefferson is the safe pick here, but Mike, I don't feel like being safe at the moment. I'm pulling for the upset here. I don't really know why, but Struthers, one of these has to crack. They've been so close to some really big upsets. I think this is finally the one they get it done in.
That's why I kind of watched myself and I said safe.
Yeah.
I think Jefferson's gonna win, but I was easy there with the word safe. I don't think anything's safe.
This next game might be a safe pick on one side. Hubbard playing host to Lakeview, who we just were talking about a second ago, lost to Struthers last week, got wiped the floor with. The last 2 weeks alone, Lakeview has given up 90 points, scored just 3. Hubbard comes in, overtime win against Struthers, lost to Jefferson 25-13. So both sides struggling, but I think Hubbard's got the real edge coming into it because Lakeview has completely lost control of their offense. Granted, they went against 2 really good defenses, but now you're going up against another really, really good defense who's allowed 86 points in just 6 games. So 14 points a game, you're not going to be able to beat them with the offensive struggles they've had, even if you're getting 14 points. Hubbard's going to come in and score. I like the Eagles in this one. Give me Hub.
Yeah, I think this is a game where you kind of it's been kind of a grind, it seems like, so far with their offense this year. They've had some somewhat breakout games, but some of their other games have been grinds. I think this is a game at home, too, against a team that I think they're slightly better than. I think Hubbard's going to get something going here.
Liberty going on the road into Champion. I saw Liberty a week ago, and they've had a real turnaround since they made a change in quarterback. Obviously, Campbell last week, take that what it is.
Yep.
It's not a great win, but, I mean, they're working with a new young quarterback who got his first start against Brookfield, and He definitely had some struggles in that game, but he's a young freshman. He's learning. This Tyson Lawrence, he's definitely got some skills from what I saw a week ago. I think he can sling the rock. He's got a much better completion percentage than Derek DiMatteo, who's been moved back to tight end for Liberty. And I didn't even know they made a quarterback change. But I think coming into this with the quarterback change on my mind and how well they played last week and special teams really impressing me, and Quez Patterson playing really great on defense. Unfortunately, not nominated for Big Dog of the Valley this week, but he had an absolute amazing performance a week ago. 75-yard punt return. Did not end up in the end zone. Ended up on the 15-yard line. His offense scored in the next play. 90-yard kickoff return after his opponent got a 90-yard kickoff return. Then he goes out and gets a pick six as well and added on a game-winning interception at the end of the game to close things out. They have really talented players at this Liberty school, and I'm interested to see how they take on Champion this week, but I do think maybe Champion starting to get something rolling their direction. They did lose last week to Garfield, but I think they're in a pretty good spot. And, I saw them a couple weeks ago against Newton Falls. They had their struggles, but once they made their adjustments against Newton, I really think they turned things around, and you saw it against LeBray. They fell apart against Garfield. You're going to fall apart against Garfield. Let's put it that way. No one's going up there and really going to have their best game against Garfield. They're 15 spot right now in Division 5, Region 17. They got a good playoff spot as anybody out there to make that final run for the end of the season. They have winnable games. Liberty, Campbell, Crestview. Then they have Brookfield to finish the season. They're not winning that one week 10. But 6-4, they can finish this out. I don't know. I do like Liberty after what I just saw, but I'm not going to buy into the hype of a win over Campbell. I accidentally did that for Crestview, I think. Not happening again. I got Champion.
I get it too. Albeit it's against Campbell, but you're making the quarterback change, like you said, and it is a younger guy that's taking over. You can excuse the Brookfield loss, but I know it's against Campbell, but still, you go out there and you make mistakes when you're a young guy against any team, even though if they're not good or not. That's going to mess with you. And I think they came out against Campbell and they got some stuff done. But I don't know if it's going to be, able to be done against Champion. Champion's not a powerhouse, but I think they're kind of hovering around this year. They're kind of just getting by. They're doing enough right now, but I think I got to go Champion.
I like it. Lisbon coming off a win against East Palestine a week ago. P.S. I think I'm done taking the Bulldogs, unfortunately. I was hoping they were going to bounce into one of these games, but 34 lost to Lisbon this prior week. Sorry, EP, but my belief has kind of run out again on you. Wellsville's coming off a 64-6 loss a week ago. You got two teams with 3-3 records that I don't know how to feel about. Wellsville, they have wins over EP, Columbiana, Catholic Central out of Steubenville. None of those are good teams. And they have losses to undefeated Toronto, one-loss Toronto, undefeated Edison, undefeated Southern. Well, Lisbon win over EP, lost to undefeated Southern, one-loss Toronto, undefeated Valley Christian, wins over a bad Harding and a okay Wyndham. I don't know how to feel about these squads, really. I mean, Lisbon, talking to Daly up there in the box who does their games, the one thing he kept saying they don't know how to make adjustments. They're very beat up. But then we see them a week ago get a shutout, and clearly that means something. But Wellsville, I think they're a good team, but when they've gone against good opponents, they have been awful. 36-6 Toronto and 64-6 Southern, 41-0 Edison. They've been really bad when they've played good opponents, and I think Lisbon, albeit they got garbage time points in some of these games, they did score against these really good squads. So with that being said, I think I'm going to give the edge here to Lisbon, but I'm not loving it.
I'm going to go with Lisbon too, but for a different reasoning, because like you just said, if you're going against a team that is not good at making adjustments or sometimes isn't willing to, or just, like I said, is not good at doing it, you're just not going to, again, I know a win last week, but you come out with a big win last week and it's a score like that, shutout, good job. But can you do things consistently? Can you make adjustments consistently? Can you play sound football consistently? And I think Wellsville has not shown the ability to do that this year. So I'm going to go Lisbon as 2, but for a different reason than you.
So this division they're in, Division 7, Region 25, it's wide open. Right now, from 8 on down, you're talking about every team can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Jeromesville, Hillsdale is 3-3, and that is the number 8 seed right now. So this is wide open. Couple of 0-6 teams that probably won't turn things around and make it happen. But if they do, there's still a chance. Wellsville holds the 16th spot. Lisbon holds the 12th. They're very, very open. All I can say is JFK and Lowellville and Southern up here at the top, most likely going to be the only ones anybody's looking at to have a shot to make it out of this division and maybe make some noise outside of the region. So not a great division or great region overall. Definitely a lot of teams that have struggled, but great top. And these teams are going to fight it out. These playoffs matter to every one of these teams. And with it being so wide open, you really want to be a team that can jump up and take an 8 seed. If you can take an 8 seed with a 6-4 record this season, that is miracles.
Yeah.
Miracles. I mean, I think any coach around you would say, I went 6-4 and I made the 8th spot in the postseason. Shoot, I'll take that any year. If that's how, subpar we can be and still get in. Obviously, every coach wants to, go undefeated. Is that realistic? No, I'll tell you that. That's ultimately the goal for a lot of teams. But when you get biggest goal, make the playoffs.
Get in.
And both these teams have a shot. Both teams have a playoff spot. Now you just have to, hold it.
Yeah, just get in.
Just get in. Then change everything up from there. Go in and try and pull the upset.
Yep.
Can't wait for upset season. It's coming. It's right around the corner, man. When it'll be October 28th, should be round one of the playoffs. It's going to be fun. One more game to talk about here on our high school extravaganza. Day 1, day 2 tomorrow on the network. Mate, don't miss out. I'm going at it all alone, at least at the moment. I got to see if anybody wants to jump on and join me from the network. But final game here, McDonald, Western Reserve. McDonald comes in 2-4. They do drop a week ago to Springfield, a game that they were in for a while, but Springfield ultimately pulled away. Western Reserve, like we've kind of said this season, they're a really good one-win football team. I mean, the win at the beginning of the season to Liberty, 3-point loss to Conneaut, 1-point loss to Jackson Milton, 3-point loss to Waterloo. The only times they've been blown out, Mineral Ridge and Brookfield. I really think this is a great shot for Western Reserve to come in and make something happen this week. They're not that. They are a 23rd seed right now in Division 7, Region 25. So this is the same region we're just talking about was Wellsville and Lisbon. There's an opportunity to make the playoffs for every single team in here. And you just have to be the one to go out and grab it. McDonald, Region 25 as well. They're 22 seeds. So both these teams' playoffs lives are on the line right now. But I think I like Western Reserve coming into it. I'm taking the Blue Devils.
They're both Blue Devils, actually.
Well, I'm taking Western Reserve. Definitely forgot about that.
Yeah. I guess this is a bit of a toss-up, too. I think Western Reserve is probably probably the better chance, too. But I think home game Western Reserve at home. Road game for McDonald's going to make it a little bit tough, but why not? I'll go McDonald.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. He's taking them.
Loving it.
All right. Well, you want to talk here briefly on Thursday night football tonight, Miami Bengals. Michael, hand you the floor. You can take it away. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this game to finish out the show this week.
Oh, I just thought, we talked last week because it was a local game. I think, Cincinnati falls under our local time of it, but I think it's a good matchup. Cincinnati's trying to find themselves. Nothing really certain, specific to talk about with this one, but I think it's, team that we talked about. We had question marks with Miami coming in. They're 3-0, or to start the season, we had question marks with their offense coming in. They've looked really good so far. Bengals come back home for their second home game on Thursday night. I think it's a little bit of it's a good matchup here. I think two good young quarterbacks, a lot of weapons on the outside for both teams. But I think the advantage kind of goes to Miami, because I think it's going to be the key to this game is going to be the Bengals offensive line versus Cincinnati's or against Miami's defensive front. And I think that kind of goes toward Miami, because we know Bengals made some changes in the offseason for their offensive line, but so far it has not bode well for them. It's kind of been the same story as last year, but should be a really good one going into it.
Yeah. The one thing, Tua, he's been hit one time this season, and he got injured last week. He is expected to play tonight, which is kind of a shocker. But you do got to wonder, where is his head at the moment? I mean, he got absolutely rocked, and it wasn't even by a player. It was by the ground. He's lucky that was turf. If he was playing on grass, That would have been lights out for him probably for a couple of weeks. Coming into this on the road, I think I got to kind of like the Bengals because I don't know where the mentality is going to be for Tua this week, how he's going to take any pressure at all from the Bengals, because this Bengals, they have a good defense. I mean, you haven't seen their defense let up more than 20 points this season. Well, 23, but that came in overtime. So, discount that. 20 points in the regular 4 quarters of football.
Yeah.
They allowed 20 to Cowboys, but it's been close to them. And these last 3 weeks, I've been semi-impressed, despite the fact that they've been losing. It's close losses to Cowboys, Steelers, and they beat the Jets. And I know it's just the Jets, and I ain't going to be the one to tell you the Jets are good because they suck. But Dolphins, quality win after quality win. I mean, what can't you say? Their defense maybe not that great because, I mean, they did allow 38 to the Ravens, but they still won. And whenever you can come out with a win in the NFL, you're going to take it. We don't see a lot of 4-0 starts, and that's kind of the one thing for me that I'm very wary to take Miami in this game. You just don't see 4-0 starts in the NFL. You always see great 3-0 teams drop it here in week 4, and I think that's what's going to happen. I got Cincinnati. I'm taking the home squad here in the state of Ohio. I'm still a Browns fan, but I'm taking Cincinnati here. I root for my state.
You're being
Plus,
fair.
practically the same colors, same head figure in Paul Brown. So,
Yep.
Shoot, I think it's the same highway. You can go all the way from Cleveland down to Cincinnati. So
yeah, a lot of Paul Brown action down there. But I gotta, for Cincinnati, they're very close to being undefeated. They had that loss against the Steelers. That they didn't deserve to win that game, but if things go differently, going into overtime, they probably beat the Steelers. I don't know about the Cowboys. We know now Cooper Rush is playing pretty well, but at the time we're thinking, a lot of teams weren't picking a lot of people weren't picking the Cowboys to win that game, and they found out a way. But they've done enough so far, the Bengals, and I think like you even said with the Dolphins. I think last week getting that big win against the Bills at home, it wasn't pretty, but they got a big win against a team that it's everybody's picking to win the Super Bowl here in Buffalo. So I think maybe somewhat of a reality check. This coming on a short week, going over to Cincinnati, come up in a little bit of chillier weather. We saw the Bills have to go last week down to play Miami in hot weather. It didn't really go well for the Bills. So I think coming up here, I think Cincinnati's going to get this one at home.
Bengals actually favored tonight. 3.5 points is the spread line for the night. Money line 190. Over under 48.5. Mike, I want to get your thoughts. 48.5 for this game. Over under.
I think it has potential to go over.
I don't know. I like the under. I think both these teams have really solid defense, and playing in the cold tonight. I mean, we're looking at lows of 39 degrees. It's
only reason I say it has potential to go over because we could see when we saw it in Kansas City, we saw so far with Tyreek Hill in Miami when he gets behind the defense. Yeah, there's gonna be some points on the board. So
him and Eli Apple going at it tonight. But that's all the time we got for on the show today. I'm Alec Brennan, Mike Wolfgang. Day 2 of our high school football extravaganza continues tomorrow here on your Sports Network. Power Hour coming up next on YSNlive.com in primetime later tonight. So I don't know if Power Hour will be next. So stay tuned. Find out for yourselves. Up next.